Night street photography may be the most intimidating form of photography to try for the first time, both on a technical level and on a general safety level. So today we're going to break down some tricks and some hacks to help you get started and make the process of night street photography just a little less intimidating for you. YouTube, what is good? So if you've been following the channel for a while, you know in 2020 I took a little bit of a break from street photography. Just with the world changing, street photography didn't have the same vibe for me, and I'm slowly getting back into it, but I'm not going to lie to y'all. It's a little bit scary, especially getting out at night. I'm a little bit intimidated by it. It's been a while. I feel a little bit rusty. So with that being said, I thought it'd be cool to break down some hacks or some tricks. Hacks. I'm sorry. It's YouTube. I gotta get the clicks. Y'all get the deal. I want to break down some things that will help you with your street photography, help you with your night street photography, just to make it a little bit easier and make the process a little bit less scary. So let's get into it. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed today's video. The first hack I got for you is the double focal length shutter speed hack. Ooh, baby. That name is not going on a t-shirt or anything because it is a mouthful. But why is this important? So when you're out doing night photography, a lot of times you're going to find yourself in a situation where you're really trying to push your shutter speed to the limit. You're thinking, how low can I get this and still get a clear image? Here is the rule to follow. If you're using a 35mm lens, double the focal length, so 1/70th is the lowest you want to go on your shutter speed to guarantee you can get a nice crispy handheld shot. Now obviously there's some outliers in there. Your camera might have IBIS, you might have a stabilized lens. Take that into consideration for yourself, but if you want a nice general rule of thumb, take your focal length, double it, and that is the lowest shutter speed you want to go to handheld. So the second hack we got to talk about is use composition cheat codes, or just use cheat codes in general to your advantage. The first thing is lead lines. Typically in night photography, lead lines are going to be unnatural light sources, meaning things like fluorescent lights or street lights that are basically going to point your eye to a potential subject. So all you got to do is find a composition that you think is interesting and then just wait for someone to enter into that composition and you can make a photo. In my experience, it's really easy to find these lead lines at night because they're literally lit up for you. You just got to look and say, I see some lines. I'm gonna wait and have somebody go into it. So that is cheat code number one. Cheat code number two is use a Pro Mist filter. If you're out somewhere and you want that dreamy, hazy look on your photos, throw that Pro Mist on there and bang, you're gonna have an extra element to your photo that's just gonna add that little bit of interest and mysteriousness. Cheat code number three is arrows on the ground or arrows on street signs. I love this composition trick because it literally points the viewer in the direction of your subject. So let's say you find a composition that has an arrow on the ground for traffic. All you do is set up your composition and wait for a subject to cross into the frame so that arrow is literally pointing at them. So when a viewer is looking at your photo, the arrow directs them to where they need to be looking. And it's a really easy composition trick to also find when you're out in the field. Composition trick number four is reflections. Obviously, reflections are going to add another layer of interest into a photo. So you might have a scene that you're thinking, this is a little bit boring. Is there anything I can add to it? Maybe you find a puddle on the ground, or maybe you find a car to position in the bottom corner of the photo so that some light is reflecting off of it, and now you have that extra layer of interest. Reflections are really easy to find, and they can just add a lot of interest and add something to an image that is otherwise lacking. So we're on like a list within a list right now, so I can't remember what number we're on, but the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to cheat codes is using shadows and silhouettes to your advantage. Why is this a cheat code? Because all you have to do is expose for the highlights, and you can allow someone crossing into your frame to just be a shadow. You're not worried about how they look, you're just worried about their body position and their position inside of your composition. So I personally love this because I don't like to include the identity of people a lot of times in my street photography anyways. So all I'll do is find a composition I like, expose for whatever lights are inside the composition, and then I just wait for someone to cross into it, and bang, we have this mysterious shadowy silhouette inside of a composition that already looks great. So those are some quick cheat codes to help you get started. Before we continue on with this list though, I want to thank our sponsor today, Squarespace. Squarespace is hands down the easiest place to build a website. Do you have a side hustle? You have a hobby? You have anything that you're creating that you just want to share with the world? Do you know how to move a file from one folder on your computer to another folder? Then you know how to design a website with Squarespace. Their templates are so easy to use. All you got to do is fill in the blanks and drag and drop media, and bang, you are done. It took me one afternoon to build my website, evanranf.com, which is a huge part of my photography business. I actually have a video on this channel all about how I built that website. I'll go ahead and link it in the description description down below. But while you're down below in that description, go ahead and click on the link. You can start your free trial and start building a website with Squarespace today. And if you go to squarespace.com/EvanRamp, you can also start a free trial and you can use code EvanRamp to get 10% off your first purchase. So that's squarespace.com/EvanRamp to start a free trial, and you can use code EvanRamp to get 10% off your first purchase when you are ready to sign up and finalize your website. Thank you, Squarespace, for sponsoring today's video. Number 3 on this list is look out for external light sources because they are going to help you every single time. Now, there's 2 ways that they can help you. One is the New York way, is what I like to call it. If you're in New York and you're in Times Square, there are so many lights around you that these lights are actually lighting up your scene, and they're creating this very interesting dynamic within your street photography where you're making photos technically at night, but there's so much external light coming in, you can pick and choose how you want to use that light and how you want to control your photos. If you ever find yourself in a scenario where more light is coming into your scene at night, you want to take advantage of that. That's one reason I actually love Miami so much, is because Miami is always lit up with all these beautiful colors, and it's really easy to do street photography there. New York is the same way. Now, obviously, you're not always going to find yourself in a position where there's some giant external light source helping you with your street photography, but if you're someone just getting started and you're kind of intimidated by the process and by the settings and getting your shots right, just an area in your town or city where there might be more lighting present, it's a good place to start. Now, the second thing we got to talk about with external light is mixing and matching light sources. I personally love this. I think it makes photos really interesting and very dynamic. And what this means is making photos during something like blue hour. So there's a little bit of light left in the sky, so you're getting this natural light mixed with the artificial light that is happening in a city or inside of a scene. One of my favorite examples of this that I've ever done is when I was in the Bahamas last year with my buddy Taylor Jackson. We made all these photos at blue hour and at dusk of these like bars and places where people were eating. I love these photos because of the mix of the natural light in the sky combined with the fluorescent lighting of the restaurants or the lighting inside the restaurant paired up against the colorful light in the sky. Keeping your eyes open for these mixed lighting scenarios typically leads to more interesting photos. Now, the fourth thing we got to talk about is so blatantly obvious, I'm only going to spend 30 seconds on it, and that is a lower aperture lens is obviously going to be better for night photography, meaning you want to use a 1.8 lens, a 1.4 lens if you have that option. You can get away with 2.8, but you're probably going to want to use a camera that has a sensor that can handle low light a little bit better, just because you're going to have to push your ISO or bring your shutter speed down, and most of the time we end up pushing our ISO in these scenarios. So obviously lower aperture lens is going to be better for night stuff. So number 5, and the last thing I want to talk about today, is about safety. And I actually get a lot of questions about this anytime I post night street photography videos. People ask, yo, how do you keep your camera safe? Are you not worried about your safety? Obviously I'm concerned with it. You're out at night in a city, you don't really know, what could be lurking around out there. I have been in a few scenarios before where it got a little bit dicey, but I was on my toes paying attention to my surroundings and I knew the area that I was in. That is the most important piece that I can tell y'all. Make sure you know where you are. Know your surroundings, know the buildings around you, know what buildings might be open, what buildings might be closed. Know if I take this alley, I can go here. If I take this street, it goes here. Typically, I don't like making night street photography in areas that I am super unfamiliar with. That's just a matter of personal preference. And if I do find myself in a scenario where I feel a little bit uncomfortable or I'm a little uneasy, what I like to do is keep my camera bag around one shoulder, and then I can grab the camera and use it when I need it, and I can put it back in, and that way I'm not walking around just with this expensive item out flashing, hanging around off my neck. I don't know how people do that, but for me, I found that that's one way to kind of blend into your surroundings a little bit more and be more of a chameleon when it comes to street photography. And honestly, that is what you want. You don't want to be flashy and flamboyant and being the center of attention. So that's it for today. Those are all my hacks, my tricks. Wish me luck getting out to do some night street photography this week. Be on the lookout for that video. Hit the thumbs up button. I hope this one helped you. I'll answer comments for the first 2 hours. Y'all are the truth. See you next time.